Okay.
When I first met you, I didn't want to be your friend. Hello, my name is Elle Harris, and thank you for checking out the 7 podcast. Today, we are talking about friendship. I feel like we don't talk about this enough as women. And I was able to sit down with one of my good friends. She's also my line sister, Kelli. And so I hope you enjoy this episode. I chose Kelli because when I first met her, I did not want to be friends with her. And we kind of go into that on this episode. But she has taught me so much about friendship and just maturing in that space. And I hope you get that out of this episode. So check it out. Welcome back. This is another episode of 7. I am Elle Harris, and today I am with Kelli. And Kelli is my line sister. I've known her since 2019, but met her some years prior.
2013. Yeah.
Yeah, and our husbands went to high school together, so it's just like a full circle. But I wanted to bring you up here for our friendship episode because of, I would say, probably the development of our friendship. What's so funny is I was talking to Sean about it. He's like, "You're going to say this on the podcast?" I was like, "Yes."
Okay.
When I first met you, I didn't want to be your friend. Mm-hmm. And it's not because you did anything, I didn't want to be your friend because you convicted me about a lot of things that you didn't even realize you convicted me about. I remember when I used to say, like, "I'm such a horrible friend," and you were like, "Stop saying that." And it pissed me off for you to tell me to not say what I felt. But it was just like that conviction that I also needed because for so long I lived in that space of believing that about myself. And it wasn't until you highlighted that that's what I wasn't, that I finally was able to like process, all right, I'm not a bad friend. I'm a good person. I can move into believing that. And today I actually believe that. So thank you for that first.
You didn't tell me till a while after that you didn't like me saying stuff like that.
It just made me so uncomfortable. But I also think it's like the thing of when you're so used to like hearing bad things about yourself, and that's more comfortable than hearing something good. When you do hear things that are good, it makes you uncomfortable because it's not something that's like normal in your life. And so those things used to make me squirm to hear like, no, that's not true. Because it's like you can deal with what people have said about you and then how you've like internalized that and like, all right, this is who I am. I'm a bad friend. I can live and walk in that. But for you to come and tell me that's not who I am, now I have to live and walk in something that I don't know, right? And then that makes me accountable to being a better person as well. So all of those things were like going through my head. So
that's funny because you never challenged me on it. You just let me say it, and then that was it. So in my mind, I thought, I'm just saying what I'm saying.
Right.
I didn't know till like a year or two later that you were like, that didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I think it made me shrink though. It made me feel like, it made me uncomfortable because I'm like, who are you to tell me? Because everybody else is telling me different. Like, how dare you tell me different? So I think it was that. And it was really like, I don't think I could have processed that without like literally like going to therapy and, all of it, and like really just taking what you're saying and going through some things and like, you know what, I actually am a good person. So getting into that, my first question, because I think what leads to that is like not knowing what friendship is. So for you, what do you feel like friendship is?
Oh, you don't know what friendship is.
No, like, I think really? I think we all define friendship differently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. I think we do. So I wrote down a couple of words. I don't know if I have like a sentence definition, but just thinking about friendship, what I think it is, like you said, everybody does look at it different. And even every friendship that you have is different then. So I'm not going to talk to you or treat you the same way I treat some of my other friends, which is weird, but it's not. Just like on Instagram, sending memes. There are only certain ones I'm going to send you, and I'm going to send certain ones to other people.
Right.
But the first thing for me was accountability. I think you should be able to hold your friends accountable, especially to things that they say they're going to do or not going to do. I think that when we're dealing with each other, if you can't say this is not good or this is bad, and you can't, I feel like that's not a good, it's probably not a good friendship if if you don't respect what your friend is telling you, unless, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to like say. I mean, because there are people who will say things to you because they're jealous or whatever, and I think you have to, I guess, kind of figure that out for yourself. But I think a true friend will hold you accountable for stuff. So that was the biggest thing for me. I think friendships should be reciprocal, but not in a, I did this for you, so you owe me. Not necessarily that way, but just to know, like, if you do something for me, I'm going to eventually pay you back in some way. Like, if I babysit Zion, at some point, you're going to help me out with Jack. So you're going to, oh, I got your lunch, or I got this. So I do think it should be reciprocal, even though I think that gets looked at negative, because it shouldn't be like, I owe you. But you should be able to, like, pay each other back organically. I think. Yeah. Another one is laughter. I know a lot of miserable, unhappy people. And so for me, if we're not laughing, to me, that's not a good friendship. I met a lot of miserable people. I have miserable people in my family. Like, I don't want to deal with that. To me, laughter is like the biggest thing. If we can't laugh and joke, but also knowing to be serious when that time comes to, laughter is like a non-negotiable for me. And then back to, well, I said not being jealous. I had a friend in my past who it took me years to see that she wasn't happy for me and the things that I was doing. And it's weird even saying, oh, she was jealous of me, because people, a lot of people have that, I feel like a lot of people say, oh, they're jealous or whatever. But like, for someone to come out of their mouth and say that they did not want to be around me because I was married and had a child and I was happy, like that's painful. Yeah, I never heard that before. That was the one time, and that was something that I couldn't deal with. And then back to what I said before, I think I said friendships are multifaceted. So having different friends that serve different purposes in your life. Like, you can be one of my best friends, but you don't know about like basketball and stuff, but I have other my sports friends who do certain things. So I think you do have to have different friends that serve different purposes. So
I like that. I think so, like when focusing on like what you said in the beginning, that reciprocal, like it doesn't have to be measured. I remember a friend telling me, I think like 2014, 15, we were going out to eat lunch, and I was like, oh, I got your lunch tomorrow. And she was like, no, we don't count times. She's like, friends. And it was the first time I had ever heard someone say that, like, we don't count times, like we're friends. Like, and I was like, oh, I didn't know how much I needed to hear that. And I think when you're in a friendship and you may be a person you're like more out and, you know, like I'm an entrepreneur, so I do a lot of different things and I'm always on the scene and out. So I may not have a lot of time to sit down and just like hang around and lounge and do nothing. And everybody can't handle that. Or I can't be the friend that shows up every single day because I'm trying to manage a million things. And everybody can't handle that. So it's like that there, but when I'm there, I'm there. Like when I'm present, and we enjoy those moments like that. I think those are the things that makes the friendships kind of evolve. Also with that whole thought process of you saying like that jealousy thing, I think for me, I've been in that place many times, but I failed to look at it because I didn't want to. I did not want to acknowledge that because I just don't want to believe that anybody would ever be jealous of me. And again, that goes back to what I felt about myself in the past. Like, why would you ever be jealous of me? Like, me? Why? So I think when you're not healthy enough to be in a friendship, I think that it can cause that you not to really understand like what a friendship really looks like, or be able to define that. Like, even if you've grown up, and I don't know, like your mom is pretty much from the same generation my mom is, but just that generation of women who are like, don't be around a lot of women, don't have a lot of women in your house. Like, it was cool when you were young to be like, oh, I don't have no girlfriends, like I hang out with the guy, you know what I mean? Like those type of things. So if you've never really had girlfriends, how do you even know how to be a good friend?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that friendship thing for me was like, how do I define that? Because it may look different in my life. I don't have a lot of time to give with sitting down and just kikiing all day. I'm not in that space of life right now. I don't know if I ever will be.
Yeah.
But if you could take me for who I am and the time that I have in that present moment, then that's the friend that you get. And if you can't accept that, I think at this point in life, I'm okay with that.
And I think we haven't been really taught to put up boundaries either. So that factors into all of that. So I know I wasn't taught to have boundaries. I know what boundaries look like for me, but then you have to be taught how to put up boundaries and then actually enforcing them. And a lot of folks don't know how to do that either.
No, we don't. And you're kind of going into another question that I have. So I'll come back to that in just a second. I want to ask you this question of how do you maintain friendships? Like, I know the people who have friendships, A1 since day one. We've been friends for 40 years. We've been friends since kindergarten. And I think for me, I used to envy that. Mm-hmm. I used to envy those type of relationships, but I don't anymore, because to say to quantify it and it has no quality, I don't want it. Because if I've been friends with you for 30 years, but we hate each other secretly and we're always arguing in each other's presence, what benefit does that have but to say? Yeah. But to tell the world that we've been around for 30 years, like, what benefit does that have? Yeah. How do you maintain friendships?
Once again, I think every friendship in that way is different. I think you can't treat certain friends the same as far as like how you communicate or how often y'all talk. Like one of my best friends, we've been friends since we were 3. She lives in Georgia. She's not a big talker on the phone. So we text most days, all day, every day. If we do FaceTime, it's so we can see the kids and stuff. But she's busy. She has family. So I think I know how to contact her. Like for you put your do not disturb on at a certain time of the night. So I know.
You bypass it?
I do. I do, because sometimes I have to say it so I don't forget. I'm forgetful. So if I was I got to tell Elle right now, and I'll hit the little button to make sure it goes through. So that's a boundary I don't respect for you, and I apologize. But, and then I have 2 of my other friends that our moms work together. So we've been friends our whole lives. One of them I talk to more often, but the other one I don't talk to as often. But every time we see each other, it's like we talked yesterday. So I definitely think you have to understand how that person wants to be communicated with. I don't think you should let too much time pass, between actually seeing them or communicating with them. So I do think, even though we're all busy, needs to make an effort to somehow say, hey, how you doing? I was thinking about you. So I shoot those type of, messages sometimes. I don't know. Like I said, I just think knowing how you and that person operate, I think is, because some people don't want to be talked to all day, every day. And also maybe just asking. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and her and a friend had a falling out because one person wanted to hang out and talk all day, every day, and the other person couldn't do that. And so she said, I couldn't manage her friendship expectations. So I think that probably needs to be a conversation too.
That's good.
Yeah, she said she couldn't manage it. They both have jobs. One had a spouse and kids and entrepreneur, and the other one doesn't, So, and once she was like, hey, hang out with me, talk to me, do this. And she was like, I can't. And then the other one kind of got mad. So that needs to be a conversation. So because they lost a friendship and it's not the same anymore. So, talking about what you want your friendship to look like. It does need to be a conversation, especially as we get older. We're not kids. We're not hanging out at high school every day and seeing each other. So I think that that probably needs to, it does need to be a conversation to get older. You don't think you have to have those conversations because, like you said, if you're hanging out all day, every day, and then you go to college and the person disappears because that wasn't, for us, I think it was even harder because we had cell phones, but we didn't have social media initially. We couldn't talk on the phone until 9 o'clock.
Cell phones. We couldn't text. It cost money.
We couldn't talk. We couldn't text. You had to call me back after 9.
Right.
So I do think now it's probably easier for people to maintain friendships because we have FaceTime. We have so many ways of communicating, but I think each relationship still needs to have that conversation. Like, what do you want from me? Or, so.
I think that's really good. I think one of the things for me in maintaining friendships, I think a lot of the times is what you just said, like you either fall apart, like you go separate ways, or there's something in your life that may not agree with that person's life anymore. So I think what I've come to realize today is there are some friendships that will be seasonal, right? And that season may be 1 year, maybe 4 years, whatever it may be. And I'm okay with that now because I feel like we all have to serve our certain purpose. Like if it's for that season, we're together and we're friends. And for the next season, where I'm going, we just don't align anymore. Okay. I'm not going to sit there and try to maintain it for the sake of just maintaining it. But I also want to make sure I'm doing my part. So I feel like friendship is just like dating. Like, these are what my standards are in a friendship. This is what, I require. What do you require? Can I handle that? Because I may ask for these things and you may not. I think for me now, like, because I have been in so many situations where people have used me and as I guess I would just say like as an opportunist, right? I no longer want to be your friend. I don't want any friends to come to me based on what I do. Like, learn who I am. And I have a million layers. And a lot of people don't get to see me be goofy and silly and all of those things. But when you see that, like, that's when you know me, right? It's beyond like what the rest of the world sees. It's authentically me in my space. And that's what I want. And if the friendship can't be that, and I can't be safe, and I can't say the things that I want to say without you're like cringing, like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, then I don't want it. Yeah. Because I think, and I used to say, like, I can't wait till I get like 60 or 70 where I could just talk and say whatever I want to, like, older people do. But I'm at that place now, like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to walk on eggshells. We may have opposing views in life, politically, religion, whatever it may be. But if we're friends, we can surpass all of that because love should transcend all of those things, right? So I think that's where I am now in friendships. Like, I want to be able to say, this is what I need. This is what, and if I feel like we're in a place where we don't agree and I feel like it's getting ready to come to a head of, I will say we need to either end this conversation and regroup and come back, or be very careful about your next statement. Because I'm highly in the season of peace. Yeah. I ain't got it. I don't got it. I don't have the time and the energy because I'm trying to do so many things. I just don't have the energy. And I think when you have come to a place of like your own healing with friendships and trying to like navigate that road, you have to be at a place of like, how do I continue to protect my boundary? How do I continue to protect myself in a way that I'm not triggered to do something crazy? Like, how do I maintain that? You know what I mean? Like, how do I stay in a recovery place, I'll call it. How do I stay in recovery? So instead of like lashing out and because I know how to hurt people. I'm very good at hurting people because I am very creative. I know how to use my thoughts and my words, to not be a nice person. And I don't ever want to do that again to someone. So pulling myself back so that I can maintain it, or the maintenance may be that we just don't need to be friends, right? So so the last question. So this is like 3 words: boundaries, trauma, and grief. What do they mean to you in relation to friendships? And you were kind of hitting on boundaries. Yeah,
we talked about boundaries a little bit. You said trauma?
Yes.
Like in general, or like
so I feel trauma? Like when I say trauma, I think of it like just, as we talked about earlier, like growing up and not supposed to be friends with girls, or having a close friend sleep with your man, right? Like, how do you move? Because I feel like what we don't talk about enough is, as I was saying earlier, friendships are like relationships, like romantic relationships, because If that friend hurt me, if you say something that looks like what that friend did, it's going to trigger me, right? And that may end our friendship. And instead of me saying that to you, like what happened, I'll just either lash at you or I'm going to cut off the friendship. Yeah. So if I'm coming into the situation with trauma from other girlfriend situations, then I'm looking at you through that same lens of, when are you going to hurt me? When are you going to show me that you just used me? Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean by trauma.
So I don't think I've had too much friendship trauma other than that one friend that I talked about before. Most of my friends are from like a beginning part of my life. So I have my friends that I've known pretty much my whole life. And then I have, one best friend from when I met her when I first started middle school. And then I have like two good friends that I still talk to from high school, and then one or two from college, and then like you like becoming AKA. So I don't like, I have, I guess, acquaintances, like people that I still check in and follow up with. But as far as like my really good friendships, I feel like I have like a cutoff. Like I can't.
You have a maximum capacity.
Yeah, I really
Five
do.
friends at a time.
Because you can't. It's hard to. It's hard to not to maintain all of them, but you want to make sure that you are still being available and still making sure that you maintain the connection. I guess that's how you maintain your friendship. So. I really don't have a lot of trauma. Even like my friends from when I was younger, it kind of just like fizzled out. Nothing happened. You know, you just move on, and that's, you know, just talk less and less. And if I see you in public, we'll speak. But yeah, I honestly, I don't have a lot of friendship trauma. Yeah,
that's beautiful. I think for me, I looked at this a few years ago. I was talking to one of my friends, and we were talking about like at a time like in college or even high school, college, I'll say that time frame, when you date guys, but it's not that serious. Like nobody ever wants to say like, oh, we're in a relationship. It's just kind of like, right?
We were talking.
And we're talking, right? Like, oh yeah, I talked to so-and-so. But I think that what happened with me is like after getting married, my transition of like that same talking situation transitioned into friendships. So it was like, oh, that, you know, every now and then I'll talk to you every now and like it was never nothing real serious. So instead of me dealing with like learning how to just cut that part of my life off, I think that kind of transitioned into my friendships. Okay. And I think for me, like even in college, like I remember my freshman year, it used to be like 10 of us that hung out, and people were like, oh, it's too many of them. Like people would try to break us up, and like people would come back and like just try to sow so much discord in our friendship group. And I remember we used to have like these
friend group. You could use
friend group. Well,
no, I feel like I've heard that at least 50 times since that. Yes. Night, but okay, go ahead.
But in our friend group, oh my God. Yeah, in our friend group, we would sit and have like, we would close the door and just have like, we would just go at it. Like we would talk, we would figure it out, and then we would move forward. And I think at some point I got tired of that. And for me, after that, I was like, I have to get friends outside of this because this is not going to continue to last. Like we are doing this too much. And that was probably my first time of being in a place of realizing I like different clusters of people. Like I can hang out with these people to be nerds. I can hang out with these people to have fun. Like, and that has just been my life going forward. I have different friend sets.
Well, that was actually going to be my question. So you told me that when we first met, and you said that you don't like intermingling them.
I do not.
So my question for you is, so like you bring, it took a while, I think, for you to like even bring your friend like to the same events, but you've done it a little more, I think, inadvertently, like with your hikes and stuff like that. So I haven't said it to you, but I've kind of been like on the fence with like talking to some of your other friends outside of you. And so I wanted to ask you how does that make you feel?
It's healing. Okay. I think it goes back to being healed, because I think for me, there has been times where I think that process started because I would have, like, I remember one of my best friends, like we had been best friends from high school, and I brought a friend home from college. Like we literally came from Petersburg to back home, and she knew we had nowhere to stay but her house. Like we went to the club and she was like, yeah, she can't stay here. So like, we're going to sleep in a car? Like, you really going to leave us out like this, like best friend? And so from that moment on, it was that feeling of, all right, I cannot put myself in a position where like we don't have a place to sleep at night because friends don't want to commingle. Or I've been in situations where friends would commingle and then they would be asking my friends for favors. Like and my friends know I don't play that. Like you don't go and ask my friend to do something for you. If you build a relationship with them organically, I'm fine with that. But do not use my friends for opportunity. And don't use my name on that. Like I don't do that to my friends, so you better not do that. So I think
unless you're offering their assistance or like say, hey, I have a friend who could help you.
Exactly. Unless it's that type of situation. Like if you come to me like, I know somebody who can help, that's totally different. But just you sliding in somebody's DMs or reaching out, hey, can I get this for free? Or like, no, I don't play that. So that's why I have been so like separated. So I think like my birthdays have probably been the only time where I've like allowed people to come together. And even some of those have been weird. Like I remember one year I had a birthday party and the person who was hosting a birthday party, she's like, well, if you invite so-and-so, then I'm not going to come. I'll just set up everything for you, but I'm not going to be there. And I was manipulated into not inviting a friend.
Oh man.
And I felt so, and then it's so funny because the next, like I ended up having to have like 3 events in one weekend for my birthday because of that. So we were at an event and another one of my friends who was coming to the next day asked her, she's like, oh, I'm gonna see you tomorrow. And she was like, what's tomorrow? And I was like, So I told her, I was like, I didn't invite you because of the issues that y'all have. But I was like, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah, you can't.
Because that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
and if you're a friend, you know who my friends are. So I would never do that again. The organic process of like intermingling friends and how that had been an issue for me. So pretty much for me, it was hard to intermingle friends because you just don't know who wants to get what out of another person, right? So like, if I know that people are going to contact my friends and say, I'm trying to get something out of you, I don't want any parts of that. Like I don't ever want a friend to feel like they have to be closed off and can't be themselves because either someone's going to record them and show somebody what they're doing, oh, look at this person, this is what they're doing, or they're in a situation where someone's trying to get something out of them.
Yeah. And I think that's harder for you too because all your friends are, not all, most have some type of business or whatever. So that has to be hard. I don't have a lot of friends like that. So for me, we just, I guess regular folks, but you have entrepreneurial friends, people do photography, videography, people on TV, people who do this and that. So that has to,
It sucks. It sucks because it's like people forget that you're a human first, right? And it's like, oh, I know they do this. So how do I get into that? Like let people be, when they're in a space where they want to be human, let them be human. When they're in a space where they have to be on and professional, let them be professional. And that's hard. I've just always been really big on that because as always, the repeated word for me is a safe space. It's hard to find safe spaces because you never know who's doing what and, who's there to record, for the right moment. And then 10 years from now, you see a video on TMZ or whatever the TMZ of that time will be saying, oh, I remember when, people are just, everybody's not kind. And some people just have their own motives. So I try to do my best to not surround myself with people who would do something like that. And so that's why I have been like really selective about who I bring around, certain friends. And I've had so many people, like even on social media, contact me and try to build a relationship. And I remember somebody, we were kind of talking and they were just like, yeah, if you want to invite me to stuff that you have, with your other friends, I'm okay with that. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, why would you say that? Because that tells me where you are. Like, it's less about like anything organic or authentic. You just want to be seen in a space, right? And I think I'm so far from that, and I'm okay. Everybody's not there yet, but where I am, you're not gonna do that in my life right now. So the last thing we're talking about, it's just the grief. So the grief of friendships. And I think for me, grieving a friendship is like worse than divorce. So my friend, like, you could date a guy and leave. And I think it's that process of when you know a friendship is ending. Like I've had a best friend and I was just like, I can't do this no more. Like she said she couldn't do it no more. Like I remember her coming to our housewarming party. She walked in and she's like, I can't do this. And then she left. And I was just like, oh, well. Yeah. And I never called her again. Mm-hmm. I don't think I saw her again until 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yep. I saw her 2 years ago. And yeah, she's like, if you ever need anything, I was like, okay. All I could say was okay because I don't feel the same.
Well, people don't know what to say also either when you are in those situations because you're just saying that as a play. You don't mean that. You know, oh, if you need anything, mm-hmm. No, I don't. Just hey, it was just nice. It was nice to see you. Like, and that's just all it has to be.
That's it.
Like, that's it.
So, yeah, I can't do that anymore. So that type of friendship, those are easy. But the ones that you don't know, I think that's just like the relationship of like you and your husband are happy and you have not been paying attention to the signs that it's getting ready to end, and then it ends. And I think that's what happens. I don't think there's ever a situation where you don't know for women. I think we just have intuition and we know. I think sometimes we just hope we can ride the storm or that, you know, we'll pass this moment eventually. And I think for me, losing a friendship a few years ago, I thought that we could ride the storm. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that we couldn't. Mm-hmm. And that it was so painful for me. It was painful and it was also a blessing. The pain in it was I felt like I had lost like the person who I love, who was my person. Like it was so much that I had wrapped up into this person. And I don't even think they knew how much of my identity was wrapped up in who they were. Mm-hmm. And I think the blessing in that is God saying, that's not what that was for. That friendship wasn't for you to be so wrapped up in her. And because of your own issues with your self-worth, feeling like that person is who elevated you in life, right? Like that's not what that was. And that person didn't do that. Like having to like process all, but in my head, that's just what I believe, right? And I didn't look at it as me, because I'm sure I caused her pain. I'm sure I did. And I'm not going to take away from that. I would never take away from anyone's pain. But I just was so unaware. I think I was just so much in a place of feeling like I can say what I want because we didn't have boundaries. And that was probably one of the, I could do and say what I want and not thinking about how what I say and do could actually hurt someone. Mm-hmm. Right? So being in that place of like mourning that, but also seeing it was great that we separated because they had to find their own identity and I had to find my own identity. And I truly, truly like authentically wish them the best. But I think also having that situation helped me for situations that came afterwards, like dealing with people who said things to me and like realizing like I could really go in here and just call out this situation. Like, and I was like, what for? Like, how does that benefit me to hurt someone else? Yeah, I'm not there anymore. Like, just let things go and understand that the season served its purpose. There were good moments. There were bad moments. And leave it like that because one of my spiritual moms, she's always says to me, Elle, remember that just like someone hurt you and you can always remember that name, they'll always remember your name too because there's someone that you hurt and did the same thing too. And processing that and hearing that, it's like, wow, that's kind of hard to take in because I have hurt someone. Yeah, you're the villain in somebody else's story too. You're the villain in someone else's story. So yeah, that's very true. Mm-hmm. I'm in this, I don't even know why I'm in the group. I think just being nosy. Friend group. Mm-hmm. On Facebook, it's a group called, like, are you dating this man or something? And so I see often, like it happens all the time. And I guess people maybe just miss it. They'll put a meme up that says, like, imagine a girl
something to the extent, like, imagine your ex's new girlfriend thinking she found a gem or something like that. But like, just because he didn't work for you doesn't mean he doesn't work for somebody else.
Right.
That to me, that's weird.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's funny, because that takes it back conversation me and you had, because you said to me when I said that, like, an ex, like I said, isn't good for you, but it's good for somebody else. And you were like, nah, I'm the best thing that ever happened to all my exes.
I am. I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that. However, I pray that you find something else compatible, comparable, like, but I do agree that.
Listen, some of your ex, you're the villain in some of your ex's stories too.
I'm 100% sure that I'm definitely a villain, but I'm still the best thing that's ever happened to them. Unfortunately, I am. Yeah.
But so, we have to look like, just like you're friends with folks that I might not like, and I'm friends with folks you may not like. It's just everybody's friendship in that way is different. But back to what you said about sometimes we see it coming and sometimes we don't. Yeah. I tried to hang on to that relationship with my friend who was jealous. Yeah. Because when I found out what she said, I wasn't supposed to know. And it was very like, it came out of nowhere for me, because I didn't believe that she would say it, but our other friend who kind of told me, and she was like, that's not somebody that would make up something like that. Right. And so she was just like, yeah, she said this, so you just might want to watch yourself. That's all she said. And slowly it kind of like declined from there. And so I started like noticing things she would say and do. And we ended up going on a road trip together. And that was like the demise of it. And we were like, haven't talked since then. Because at that point, I think we both knew. And I think she ended up figuring out that I knew what she said. So
that's hard.
It is. It sucks, because we have been friends since like 5th grade. Yeah. That's right. I had a friend tell me, like, she told me, I didn't have to hear from anyone else, that being around me made her feel uncomfortable, made her feel like her life wasn't going in the right direction. And she just couldn't be around me because it made her feel bad about her life. And I respect it. Did it hurt? Yeah. But I respected what she was saying. That sucks. I mean, but because someone else's life is going well.
From what you see, from what you depict, exactly, right?
Because you could be at home and you could.
Life was crazy.
But that, to me, that, I don't know, that's crazy if you can't be happy for folks just because you're in a season of, things just not working, because everybody has that season. It's not, no one's life is perfect. But if you can't be happy for something, like, I don't know, that, to me, that's very weird.
Yeah, it was like one of those, because people asked, like, why are y'all friends? Like, she said that she couldn't. And I've seen her recently and like several times, still love her, but I can never be her friend again because I don't want to feel that pain again. It's like, I hear you. I understand why you needed to distance yourself. But had you really looked, instead of just looking at what you see, because I think what was happening in that time frame is I had just started my nonprofit, so we were doing a lot of things. And people just, oh God, it gets under my skin when people consistently see what you're doing and they think that means that your life is good.
Yeah.
Just because I'm doing things in spite of all the craziness that I'm facing. Like, I still have to move in my purpose, regardless of if I barely can sleep, if I just had enough money to pay all my bills. Like, you don't know what's happening in my life. But because it looks a certain way, people are like, your life is perfect, right? And so that's why I'm very big on just being transparent and like, this is what's really happening, because I never want to live in that space of everything looks perfect. There's a 90-second reel of perfection in your life. Yeah. It is not. Yeah. I'm definitely going to still use my Snapchat filters, but outside of that, it's not perfect.
I don't understand why people haven't, like, as adults, like, y'all know people are showing their, like you said, their 90-second highlight reel. Yeah. Like, we all have mess, and we all have stuff that we can't sleep over, makes us cry, or we're depressed over, but I don't, to me, I can understand like younger kids why they say like social media and stuff is terrible for them, because like I said, they see everything's being perfect, but we're adults. Like, we all know that how someone's presenting it is not always going to be, what the reality is. Right. Like, I don't know.
So the last question I'll ask you, let me check my time to make sure we're not going over. Okay, we have 13 minutes. Okay. Make this a quick 5-minute segment to wrap it up. But the last thing was grief. And with grief, I was just kind of mentioning that, like, that separation, but also with you, like, knowing that you are getting ready to move. And, like, I think that we can have a grief in separation and we can have a grief in transformation. Like, for me, with grief right now, I feel like I've been so withdrawn from people, from things. And it's not that I'm withdrawn because, like, I don't want to be around people. I am trying to focus. I'm trying to make sure that I center myself first before I could do anything else. Like, we were supposed to go out for you last week, and I literally forgot. Mm-hmm. But I had, like, a very overstimulating day, and I was not in a good headspace. Mm-hmm. And it was so hard for me to say, I can't do this. But I still said it, and I had to advocate for myself. Yeah. However, I still was struggling with, like, should I say this? Should I just keep going forward because Kelly's getting ready to leave? These moments are dwindling away, like, all of those things. But then I was like, no, Elle, you gotta back away and think about yourself. Or I was talking to another one of our line sisters the other day, and I was just telling her, like, I wish I could have been there for her situation. So you'll know what I'm talking about as I'm speaking. But I had to protect myself. And then, so I had to move away from some things because I had to think about self-preservation first. Though I would love to have been there for you, Elle has to show up for Elle first. Yeah. Right? And does it hurt because I'm always the person trying to play God and trying to, not in this season. I cannot play him. I cannot do it. I cannot save you. I really have to. Because if I'm not my best, then every other area of my life isn't going to be its best. So just, like, understanding that, and even when you're going through that process, some people may not. They're like, oh, she's being different now, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. Whatever I have to be okay with that too, because if you know what's really happening with me, then you understand I'm not being different. I'm just moving. Yeah. So I'm in that place. So it's a lot of lonely days, but those lonely days are very comfortable and safe and, like, a creative environment for me. So with you, as far as, like, just kind of transitioning and getting ready to make this big move, how do you feel like the grief process is? Have you even thought about the grieving process? Yeah, it's mm-hmm.
already started. Like I told you mm-hmm. before, I feel like I'm going to be forgotten mm-hmm. By some people, and it's going to change some of my relationships. I'm hoping it doesn't. But even now, like, I told you I didn't want to tell Zion too early. Right. I feel like Zion would pick up on it and she would, like, ignore me. She would ice me out. Mm-hmm. But I feel like people have already started to, like, oh, well, let me just, like, fall back because she's about to leave and whatever. So I had to text my friend in Georgia. She kind of, like, disappeared for a day or two, and that's not how we typically operate. And so I had to text her. I was like, dog, are you icing me out? She was like, no, I'm so sorry. She's like, I wasn't feeling well. It was Christmas. My mother-in-law's here, whatever. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I'm still here. Right. So she was like, I know. She said, my fault, whatever. But just preparing for all of it, knowing that I'm not going to be down the street or even in the mm-hmm. same country. So time difference is going to be different. And I can't just say, hey, like, let me come visit for a weekend. It's going to be hard. I'm just hoping that, my relationships with folks don't change. Somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been my coworker. She was like, well, if your relationship changes with that person, then that wasn't a friend to begin with. So I was like, okay. But I think, like, my really strong friendships, I don't think that'll be an issue. Of course, it's going to be harder to talk, like, on an all-day occasion. Yeah. But I think with, like, my strongest friendships, I think I'll be fine. Right. But then, everyone's saying, oh, I'm going to come visit. No, that's not happening. Girl, folks don't even want to come out to Suffolk. Listen. So you ain't trying to drive 25 minutes to Suffolk. You ain't flying.
I don't want to drive to the beach most days.
Yeah, you ain't flying to Asia. So,
like, if we could be in the middle somewhere, let's try that. But I think you're right on that. And And I have a friend, I'll call her a friend that lives in, I'll call her a light friend, like the circle friend. But
you don't put your friends in their things. Nuh-uh. If they're a friend, they're a friend.
She's cool. She's young, so it's like, I would say a colleague. That's better. Because I wouldn't say friend. Like we, I would say colleague, but we have like a lot of similar interests. Like we like time period pieces, so we talk about what's new. And she lives in India, right? And never have I ever thought that I would, have a friend in India that I would connect with or make time to get up early in the morning to meet with her. You know what I mean? Or she'll make time early in her day or late at night so that our schedules can meet so we can just get on Zoom real quick, check on each other and move forward. Because when we talk for hours, right? So I think that time is just a construct, right? Yeah. So you'll make it work. You'll make it work for the people. And it may not be a call every day, but you'll make it work, and I truly believe that. But I feel like there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of people that's going to grieve that. Like I've been grieving and I'm happy that you told me so early so I could do it the healthy way, because it probably be more devastating to find out in December. Like, even though I found out that she was moving, the movies was coming.
You gonna hold that against me for the rest of my life? I'm gonna hold it against
you for the rest of your life, just like when you stepped on my foot.
Oh my God, I did not step on your foot. Get out of here.
But anywho, it's being able to provide me with that space, and that's what friendship is, right? Like what I'm gonna need. So being able to say this in advance has been healthy for me to like process this, and have I cried? Yes. Am I going to cry more? Probably so. But that just speaks to who you are. Because if I didn't care about you, I'd be like, okay, girl, nah. And it wouldn't matter. But you have been such an instrumental friend, like beyond the sorority, like just being a friend, like being here for me and being here for my daughter, and like all the ways you don't have to be there. Like it's just rare to have people like you in a world when I'm always being used. Like it's very rare where I have a space of people who pour back into me. I could probably name like 5 people. So to be able to have a friendship where it's not just always me emotionally or physically or mentally giving, and there's reciprocity, that feels good. So you are going to be missed. And so, yeah, we'll miss you.
And I think, both of us coming from like a mental health supportive background, that is hard to feel like you're always doing stuff for other folks. And it is very hard to kind of like turn that off. Yeah,
it is. But we're going to do it. We're going to continue to do it. But I'm so thankful for you to do this with me. It's been amazing. This ride, I couldn't think of anyone else to do this with, because I just thought just the turn of like our friendship, and just like, I'm not about to be friends with this girl who tells me I need to be better. How dare you? Right? But just like, that all of that, to see where we are now, like you've seen my vagina, like you've seen me give birth.
You say it like that. I'm sorry, why would you say it like that?
Okay, Aries, I'm sorry. But you see me like, like that's real relationship. Like, let's be honest, that's a real relationship. It transcends like everything. But no, not like that. So fix it up. I have to cut that
change the context. I'm like, what y'all got going on?
So like,
there?
Like just all of those things, but like literally like being here and just, helping me prepare for motherhood and all of those things, and being able to take my child and do stuff with her, like that it means a lot. And her relationship with you, and and Jack, her and Auntie Kelli, Auntie Jax.
Auntie Jax.
But it means the world to me, because those are sacred spaces for me. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know when you saw it, you probably learned that Kelli has left, but since we recorded, Kelli has left. She's moved on to Bahrain. We're wishing her the best. But I hope you like this episode and know that you can have friends in your continent or in another. And yeah, check out next week as well. Thank you for tuning in.